So many things have got anniversaries this year, like The Matrix and is it American Beauty as well?
American Beauty, yeah. I wasn't going to mention that one.
It's actually quite a bit interesting if you look through a lot of these films that are celebrating their 20-year anniversary and see what ones you can still watch guilt-free.
Anytime that big wine sign company logo comes up at the start of a film, you're like, oh, probably shouldn't.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger portion.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? And we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman.
I am your father.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. It's fine. I won't work here anyway. You want me to talk? Yeah, I'll talk. You don't want me to talk. I got dirt on all of y'all. I'll start myself. My wife left me a year and a half ago. There, laugh it up. I slept in my car 3 weeks. Jerry saw it. Isn't that right, Jerry?
Yeah, I brought you breakfast.
Thank you so much for doing that, Jerry. Haven't been a lot back then.
Welcome everybody to the second episode of the Moviescramble podcast. I'd just like to thank you all for listening to our first episode. You could have watched it as well, to be fair. You could have watched it on YouTube, but you wouldn't have seen much apart from a big logo. And I do not mean anything untoward. I don't want us to get cancelled too soon. Joining me as ever is Mary.
Hello.
And John.
Hiya, how you doing?
How are you doing today, both of you?
Great. I'm almost away on holiday, so nothing matters at the moment to me.
That's not the attitude. John?
Yeah, good. Yep. I've got a couple of weeks before I'm away on holiday, so I'm not quite in the mood yet, but thanks, Mary.
I mean, obviously this matters. I should clarify, this matters very much.
Yes, this obviously does matter. And our loyal listeners of a full episode also matter.
All two of you have come back for episode 2.
Yeah, I'd like to thank both of you. If you can bring some friends next time, that'd be great. Well, if you've been following us on social media, you'll see we're planning and discussing Thunder Road by director Jim Cummings, who also stars in the film. For those of you listening that haven't seen the film or even heard of it, we're going to try and skirt around spoilers and not say too much. It's basically about a cop in Texas who, after the death of his mother, seems to be at the final straw in his mental breakdown, and he's struggling with his mental health as he deals with his divorce, the concerns with his job, and just his life. And it's the title Thunder Road comes from the kind of songs Bruce Springsteen sings about. He says this in the film at the opening scene, but Bruce Springsteen sings about these kind of towns where there's nothing happening, there's nowhere to go, and it's about escaping. And he kind of encapsulates this as somebody that's going nowhere in his life and nothing is going right for him, but there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel for him either. This film totally passed me by at the Glasgow Film Festival. I know, John, you've seen it there.
I did, yes.
Yeah, and Mary, you've just seen it recently as well.
Yeah, unfortunately it clashed with a couple of other things that I wanted to see at the festival and it lost out. And now that I've watched it, I'm really gutted that I chose other films over Thunder Road.
John, you went and seen it at the festival, so you had the benefit of seeing it by an audience. What was it like? Well, first off, did you enjoy the film, and what was your experience of it?
I did. I really enjoyed the film. It was one of these ones that I don't know about yourselves when you're at film festivals. It was one that I just chose to fill in a space. I had a couple of hours in between two films that I'd really wanted to see, and I didn't really know very much about it. So it was just almost like a blind buy. But it was a pretty intense experience watching it with an audience, because everybody was kind of, you could feel the audience cringing. It was really kind of awkward watching it. I know I've said that to you before when we've been talking about it offline, that it was an awkward film to watch, and it reminded me of the likes of The Office, where you really didn't know where to look. It was a great film, but it was difficult to watch. It really was.
Like, so there was only two of us watching this in the house, obviously, but as I said to you guys earlier, I just wanted to eat my own face. I had no idea what to do with myself. It was a film that just started and threw you right in of the middle of this guy's sort of nervous breakdown. And I think that's what I liked about it, because, you know, mental health can get very messy, and it can get very messy publicly. And this film totally threw you in at that end of things when it started, and there is an opening sequence that is very, very cringy, but not in a way that you're like, this is a bad film, in a way that you're like, oh God, I need to help this guy straight away. And I think that's testament to Jim Cummings' acting and directing, that it just, you're absorbed by it straight away.
When I went to watch it the other day, I think it was Sunday, and I asked you, is it a film I can watch with a hangover?
No.
And you said no, and I was like, okay. And after watching the opening scene, I went, yeah, that would have ended me.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few times during the film where I was like, I actually don't know if I want to hug this man or laugh at what's happening to him, but not laughing in a cruel way, laughing in a sort of nervous, oh my God, where is this going type of way. And I was really surprised by all the range of emotions that I felt going through this, because again, I hadn't heard too much about it other than John, you'd obviously said, you know, brace yourself for the opening scene, but the sort of range of emotions that it took you through, I was really surprised.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well. You said about the kind of the range of emotions. It was the opening scene. If you tacked it onto the end, it would have actually been a summary of the entire film, what you feel. And as you're saying, John, as well, it was very uncomfortable. I didn't know if I was supposed to laugh at certain points. Like, I didn't
That
know
was
if
the
it
kind of beauty of it, wasn't it? You didn't really know how you were supposed to feel. I thought that the opening scene really kind of defined the rest of, like I said, defined the rest of the film, and it did it in such a way. It was really cleverly done. They did it in like a single take from start to finish. It was about 12 minutes long, and the camera just focused on the main guy, and focused on Jim, and then it sort of followed him up the aisle while he was standing there and closed in on him, and then there was a brief movement in the camera to his wife during one of his mini episodes, when in between like talking, and it just followed him the whole time for that scene, and you couldn't look away from it. There wasn't any cuts or anything to sort of break the tension, and it just built and built and built, and it was just, it was awful. But awful in a very watchable way as well. I don't know if did you get the chance to watch the short film that it came from?
I did not know.
The difference between the film and the short film is the short film has the music for the Springsteen track Thunder Road in it. In the opening scene, when he's setting up and he sets up the wee CD player, I think it's his daughter's CD player, which is, it says so much about him as well, the fact that he's bringing this thing to a funeral, and it's this wee pink CD player, and he can't get it working. But in the short film, he gets it working, and he starts doing all the actions that he's obviously choreographed for Thunder Road. But it's actually better in the feature film, because it isn't there, but he still goes through the actions, and he's waving his hand saying, "Well, this is about where the harmonica comes in and all this," and it's actually more sort of poignant without the music, because you actually see him breaking down while he's doing this dance, and it's just
Yeah, I think the music would have almost kind of rationalised it a little bit, whereas without the music, it just was part of this kind of eulogy that he was trying to give that wasn't going quite right, and then the CD player didn't work, and the dance moves were just wildly inappropriate for a funeral. Like, the whole thing was just like one big car crash after another. What I really liked about the character of Jim was that during that eulogy, he kept, about to burst into tears and then going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then he would try and sort of calm himself down and continue in a normal voice. And this happened the whole way through the film. So every time he could feel himself getting really emotional, he'd be like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then keep going with whatever it was he was trying to say. And I think that's something that we all do as humans when we get too upset, especially men in particular. They don't want to be seen as getting too emotional or too upset. And I like those neat little touches that were all the way throughout the film. But as you guys have both said, they were present in that opening moment, and that set up the whole trait of behaviours for the rest of it.
I guess going back to what I was saying about, I didn't know where to laugh. There was genuinely comedic moments in it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Mixed in with these like harrowing, like emotional gut punches, and even if he did find the scene funny, it didn't give you time to laugh.
Yeah,
no, absolutely not. Yeah,
the pacing was such that, and there's a scene where he's trying to learn the like clapping hands game. I don't know what you would call it, like a playground game for his daughter and stuff like that. And even that's really tense because of the speed at which they're playing this game. So what's supposed to be a sort of enjoyable father-daughter bonding moment is actually really fraught with tension because it's so quick and he's so desperate to get it right because nothing else is right between him and his daughter. So even sort of moments like that should be kind of sweet are actually really, really tense. And you're right, there's nothing for you to relax into or sort of get a laugh with. It's one thing after another.
It made it out that he was a bit of a lost soul, to be honest, because with the loss of his mother, she obviously had quite a controlling influence on him, and he really didn't know what to do with himself. And I think he found some sort of solace and comfort in the fact that he could still do his job. And when you saw him doing his job at first, he was very good at it. When it was the drunk in the street, and you could see he was professional, he was calm, he knew what he was doing, and then obviously he got something thrown at him, and that was it. It all went to hell after that. But it seemed to be this one sort of grounding factor in his life now that he had nothing else going for him. I'm making this sound to be a really bad film, like a really horrible film, but it was such an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it was one of those ones, as soon as I watched it, I was like, I could do that all over again, even though I had spent the past hour and a half going, oh, this is making me feel really cringy, or, you know, getting upset or crying or whatever. I kind of wanted to do it all over again.
Yeah, I had this kind of unbearable tension from start to finish, but because Jim was such a... No, sorry, Jim's the actor. What's the character's name again? Sorry.
It's Jim.
It is Jim,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Jim was such a likeable character. You know, it was such a likeable performance that, as you're saying, Mary, you just want to go over and hug him and say, it's going to be okay. And because of that, although there was a sort of really like boiling point tension during some scenes, you think, how's this going to go? This could go either way. You couldn't help but be drawn to him. And you kind of just willed things to go right for him.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone sort of roots for the underdog, don't they? But this was a kind of underdog story told in a sort of different way. And as I was saying earlier, is, you know, mental health or situations like that can get really messy really quickly. And sometimes when the threads start to come undone, like, you know, marriage, children, job, parents, all that sort of thing, it's almost like that scene in Falling Down with Michael Douglas. It's just like that one last straw that sort of tips you over the edge. But I felt like the character of Jim had a million last straws and he was still trying to really hold it together, but in a way that was not healthy for him or for anyone else around him. But a really, really endearing character. And this is a kind of silly note, but Jim Cummings has really lovely canine teeth. They're like really pointy, and I really loved when he smiled. I felt like the smile was genuine and warm and rich, and it felt like not a movie smile, but an actual human smile, if that makes sense. So I love those moments as well, which is really cheesy, but there you go.
I actually find the smiling quite touching at times because he was smiling and grimacing at the same time. It's like you said, like men normally do. They don't show emotions in the same way. So he was trying to smile and trying not to cry at the same time. And you got, as you said, a good flash of his almost vampiric teeth.
Yeah, they're great.
Apparently he wasn't really interested in making films sort of behind the camera or in front of the camera. He was a producer and a lot of films, and I think he's maybe done some TV stuff as well, but he'd done quite a lot of short films and as sort of line producer for it. So when he had the idea for the short film, it was relatively straightforward for him to put it together because he knew a lot of people and you could call in a lot of favours to get it done. But one of the stories from it was that they never got the music clearance for Thunder Road.
See, I assumed that's why that wasn't in the film as well. Although
no, he didn't get it. He didn't get it for the short film.
Right.
When he did that. So he showed the film to his mum and dad, and his mum and dad are both lawyers. And the first thing they said was, "You know, you're totally screwed here because you haven't got the rights to this, and there's no way to like do another song or anything underneath it because it's a one take." Shoot, so he had to write a nice letter to Bruce Springsteen and ask for permission. You know, kind of, I don't have any money here, but you know, can you let me use it? So that's what they got permission for the short film, but I'm assuming that it would probably be too much for the feature. but that's the cynic in me, I suppose.
Yeah, as we said, this film may sound one way describing it. You just need to see it for yourself. It's not an easy watch, but it's not necessarily a difficult watch either. And I think it's safe to say we can all agree that this one should be recommended.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, categorically. Like I said, I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to put myself through that again.
My mother was an extremely charitable woman. She loved Bruce Springsteen. She used to sing Thunder Road to me when I was going to sleep.
Everything go okay?
Everything went normal. It starts out and there's a harmonica.
As we touched on with Thunder Road, that was Jim Cummings' first movie.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and what a first film it was. As you mentioned as well, John, it was actually based on a short film he did. And that's something we've done before, but I'd like to talk about other films by directors of their first feature, their first directorial debut. I'll let you two fight it out to go first.
John, Age Before Beauty.
Okay, thanks very much. My first pick is 12 Angry Men, Sidney Lumet.
Oh, you've blown it out the park on your first choice.
Yep, sorry about that. It's surprisingly, it is Sidney Lumet's first film, and it's one of these films that is just pretty much perfect in every way. Single location, limited cast, and it's just a fantastic watch from start to finish. It's one of these things that if you read it on the page, you would think, yeah, that was okay, but just the way that it was brought to life by the director and the production and everything just made it such a special film. I mean, right from the very start, before there's actually any dialogue, you get a sense of exactly what the personalities of these people are by their demeanour, the way they hold themselves, and quite crucially, the way they dress as well. You've got Henry Fonda, who wears a white suit, so he must be the good guy. You have Martin Balsam, who is slightly overweight. He's older. He looks a bit ragged. He just doesn't know what to do himself. You've got Jack Klugman, who's got the open neck shirt and the hat tilted back and everything. And it says so much about these characters before they actually speak about and you say, well, this is what this guy's going to be like and how the stance he's going to take. And it all fits together perfectly. And then the dialogue kicks in and it's just amazing. Such a good film.
You know, I haven't seen it.
What?
I haven't seen it. I know of it, obviously. I know what the film is, but I haven't seen it. It's always on the list, but...
It's got a kind of sweaty tension about it. I like it. I'm torn between two that I actually can't pick.
I know for a fact you'll have one that I have.
Okay.
I want you to say to get it on done with.
Right, I'm torn. I've got a list of maybe 10 or whatever, and I'm torn between two that are my standouts. But I'm going to go with Roger Eggers' The Witch.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Again, it totally bypassed me at the cinema. I didn't even see a marketing campaign around it at all. It was one of those ones where I picked it up in FOP and was like, yeah, this sounds kind of good. And actually, when I started watching it, I don't know if you guys know the story. It's obviously set, early English settlers in America, and there's a lot of religious hysteria, and there's a family that live in the sort of edge of a forest, classic horror trope. But I would say that's where the tropes end. This is a film that, to this day, scares the absolute shite out of me. But again, it's not a horror film where there's all this blood and gore, and there's jump scares every 5 minutes. But obviously, as the film progresses and there's more and more sort of mysterious, kind of witchy things happening, you're like, where is this going? Where is this film taking me? I'm not sure, but it made me feel really nervous the whole way through. And then, spoilers, they introduced the character of Black Phillip, who my boyfriend does impressions of because he knows that I won't sleep for a week at a time because he thinks this is really funny. But it's very unsettling, really creepy, and it was one of those films where obviously the credits rolled and I was like, I can never watch that again. I feel sick. I was actually shaking at the end of it, and there was just something about it that really got under my skin, and I was like, oh, I didn't like that as an experience, but at the same time, I absolutely loved the film. Anna Taylor-Joy is great as the lead, and the woman whose name absolutely escapes me, the Scottish actress that was in Red Road. Kate Dickie.
Yeah.
So she's in it as well, and it's got this lovely sort of, Crucible-esque, Puritan, really plain and sort of, all the religious mania going on, but it was something that really got under my skin, and I'll never be able to watch it again because of Black Phillip.
Very interesting choice. I didn't realise that was the director's first film on either of them, actually. What I thought you were going to pick, and I know it's on your list, is Tyrannosaur.
Oh, no way! It was on my list. Are you going to do it?
I'm going to.
Yes. I love Paddy Considine. I love him.
Tyrannosaur by Paddy Considine. I mean, I love Paddy Considine as an actor. I
Yeah.
think he's absolutely fantastic. And when I heard he was making a film, I thought, yeah, I quite fancy watching this. And I was not emotionally prepared for it.
It's a ringer. It absolutely ruins you.
Oh, that opening scene. For those who haven't seen it, I'm going to get a little spoiler here. It's basically about an alcoholic played by, what's the guy's name again? Scottish guy.
Peter Millen.
It's played by an alcoholic by Peter Millen. No, I'm going to start again now. This is why this isn't live. The film stars Peter Millen, who plays a horrific, horrible man who's also an alcoholic. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever until he befriends
Olivia Colman.
I was going to say Alan Newton now.
That's Grease.
Definitely not that.
It's definitely not that kind of film.
Befriends Olivia Colman, who is a kind of church-going housewife, really sweet, really nice. They form a very unlikely friendship, and it's just a harrowing, uncomfortable watch, but it does go somewhere really nice in its own way. And that opening scene, though, when he kicks the dog to death, I know people that walked out of the cinema during that, and I couldn't blame them.
I actually considered turning it off after seeing that, but I'm glad I persevered.
Yeah, an absolutely fantastic film. Not an easy watch, not at all. A very rewarding one, though. Eddie Marsden is in it as well, and it's just everybody in it is fantastic, and the performances, an outstanding debut for a director. It's just watch it. And
his films continue to be. Journeyman was I think top 3 for me last year. His films are incredible.
Yeah, that was great. John, what else do we have?
I have A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is Anna Lily Amapour's debut from 2015. Don't know if you guys have seen this one.
I've recorded it on my box.
It was on Film 4 a while ago, so it's on my box.
It's been for 3 years recorded.
Again, it's got sort of parallels with Thunder Road in that it came from a short film of the same name, and obviously they used that to gain the funding for this one. It's basically set in a city called Bad City, which is a fictional city in Iran. It's shot in sort of glorious black and white. It looks superb, and it's a story of a girl who is a vampire and she goes out on the hunt. It's very stylized. It's reminiscent sort of early Jim Jarmusch films, and it's got a wonderful soundtrack to it as well. And it's just lovingly paced. It's not really fast or anything. It gives you time to sort of soak in all of the details that are sort of being presented to you. And it's just such a good film. It was such a good debut, which you completely ruined by doing The Bad Batch about a year later, which was awful in my considered opinion.
I think that's the thing, though. There is the pressure, because obviously, one of the most kind of famous sort of recent directorial debuts is Jordan Peele's Get Out, and then people went in to see Us looking for basically a replica, I think, of Get Out, and because it's not the same type of film and there isn't the same sort of level of allegory, I don't think it fared as well in people's opinions.
I thought Get Out was fantastic. I thought Us was good, but I had some issues with it, especially the end. Not so much a twist, but the end.
I'm going to go with a film which, ironically, I hated all of the characters in it, but I'm going to go with Alex Garland's Ex Machina.
Oh, I love that film.
So here's the thing. I feel really conflicted, because whilst I can appreciate it's a really bloody, clever film, I hated all of the characters in it. So it was a real struggle for me, because I still think about it now, which is the sign of a good film, right? Because it was, 2015 that was out? But actually all of the characters were awful. Like Oscar Isaac's character, a scumbag. Domhnall Gleeson's character, not that nice. And obviously the character of the robot or the machine, whatever, absolute dick. And yet I watched it just going, but I can't stop watching this, because it was a film where I was like, where is this going? And I like films like that kind of keep me on the hook right until the end. I didn't really like the ending in the sense that I just wanted them all to just perish. They were just horrible people. But again, a really interesting film, and I don't know if he's followed up with anything since.
He did the one. Oh, it was just out maybe about 6 months ago. It was one of these Netflix originals. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was actually a pretty good film. It was a sort of an all-female lead cast who go into there's something.
Annihilation.
Earth.
Annihilation.
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't like that. I'm one of the few dissenting voices. I didn't like that.
Okay. Well, that was a good choice, Mary. Actually, I thought that was an excellent movie. But you're right. Yeah, there were no nice character. In fact, probably the most human character was the robot in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what freaked me out because I'm worried that robots are taking over the world.
Oh, that's true. I keep getting so you get promoted adverts on Twitter.
Yeah. I
keep getting ones about AI. And it's questions like, do you trust AI? Do you think AI will take over the world? Do you think we should talk about the ethics of AI? And
do you know what the double bluff is here? It'll be a bot that's putting those spots around.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm also aware of what's the bot's intentions.
Right,
Simmy.
Yep, I'm going to go with a heavy hitter. I'm going to go with Quentin Tarantino and Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, we do have the same list.
I'd thought about that one as well, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones I had thought of, to the point I had to double check just to make sure it hadn't made something sneakily before it. Because what a fantastic film. I mean, you could make a good argument that it's his best film, let alone a great directorial debut. Everything about the film, from start to finish, it's entirely stylish, fantastic performances. It's so iconic in its shots to its character design. It was made relatively cheap. Still manages to star Harvey Keitel, and like I say, it just lives in pop culture.
Yeah, it's one of these
reasons, from its soundtrack to that infamous scene with Mr. Blonde and the cop tied to the chair to stuck in the middle of you, to just how the characters look.
Yeah, it really is one of these iconic films that, like, people still quote it. They reference the different colours, all that sort of thing, and that scene is, every time I hear that song, I'm like, oh, Reservoir Dogs.
Do you know the colours thing is taken from another film?
No.
The Taken of Pelham 123.
Oh.
I did know that, yeah. That's right. That's a very good film as well, actually.
A very good film, yeah. The remake, not so much, but...
No.
The original with the guy for Jaws, Robert Shaw.
Yep.
It's
and
really
Walter Matthau, I think, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. It's probably I've seen it before. Right?
I love his wee face. Also, I should say to everyone that's listening to this is that we're terrible with names. Like, as a collective, we can never remember actors' names, directors' names, whatever. So we usually just say thingway and then give clues to each other until one of us gets it.
Because that's what you get with the Moviescramble podcast. You don't get a polished, rehearsed product that has no heart. You get off the cuff, genuine film content.
Rough and ready.
Sorry. Reservoir Dogs, I mean, like we just mentioned there, the colours for the names were taken from Pelham 123. A lot of the very infamous scenes from it were from a Japanese film called City on Fire. Tarantino is known for being a bit of a movie magpie, but there is no denying that the film is pure Tarantino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never think of it
slated. Sorry, when you go, Mary.
I was just going to say, I never think of him as a movie magpie. I always think of somebody who, in each piece that he creates, is another love letter to cinema. I think he just loves cinema.
That's a bit more complimentary to put, I suppose.
He stole things.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the movie magpie title, because so many directors do exactly the same thing. You've only got to look at somebody like Brian De Palma and his love of Hitchcock. Like real, some of the stuff is kind of shot for shot remakes of Hitchcock scenes, and there's countless others as well. So, the fact that he publicizes it so much and he says, yeah, I've got influences and this is my influence here, and he usually names it and he talks about it. so that people will actually go and seek out the original stuff. I mean, when he was doing like Kill Bill, it was all the Shaw Brothers stuff he was sort of promoting, and that put an awful lot of people who weren't into it, like totally onto that sort of like martial arts 1970s style stuff, and it's all very stylized and like primary colors and everything, and you can see the influence he took from it. But yeah, fair play to him, you know, he knows what he's doing. There's plenty of people who say they're influenced by stuff, but they just make rubbish content. It's just a remake, if you like, without being particularly good.
Yeah, I mean, there's an old quote that if a director does something, if a director steals something, it's a homage. If a writer steals something, it's plagiarism.
Exactly.
So, John, what else have you got on your list? What's your third and final?
My final one, again, it seems to be a theme that I've gone for black and white films. My final one is not just a debut, but it was the only directorial outing for Charles Laughton, Night of the Hunter.
Oh.
From 1955. It's I don't know if you guys seen this one. It is a bit of a classic. It's a film noir story. It's a widow of a bank robber. She's got 2 children, and the bank robber, before he dies, gives $10,000 to the kids and says, "Hide this, don't tell anybody where it is, and don't even tell your mum." And the bank robber's obviously then put in jail, and he shares the cell with this guy who turns out to be this con man, and it's played by Robert Mitchum. And he then finds the widow, sort of inveigles himself with her and tries to get in with all the family, but he's pretending to be a pastor, a priest. And he's got love and hate tattooed in his knuckles, and he's always quoting the good book and everything.
As all good priests do.
Yeah, and he's creepy as hell. He's really, really creepy, and it's like probably the best Robert Mitchum performance. And it's one that it's regarded as a classic, although it was a flop when it came out. It just didn't do any business, and they got really bad write-ups, and it was only kind of rediscovered. It's one of these ones that was rediscovered through sort of rep cinema and then television, and people were saying, why did Charles Laughton not do more of this sort of stuff? But no, it was sort of one and done for him. He didn't want to do any more after that because of the criticism he got, and it's just fantastic.
It is a brilliant film.
Yeah, there's a scene in it where the kids are trying to get away from the preacher, and they got on a boat, and they're going down the river, and it's all beautifully lit. It's all very noirish. But it kind of takes influences from sort of French films of the time as well. And you hear like Robert Mitchum singing and all this, and it's just, it's wonderful. Such a good movie.
Okay, I'm going to go for, mine seem to be more modern, but I'm going to go for a film that I felt a real emotional connection with, which is Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird. So, cheesy, like teenage girl cliche here, but any female that's gone through high school and has maybe had your usual teenage strife with your mother because you want to wear a certain thing, or you want to, think at 16 that you know everything and you're going to go out and conquer the world, and your mum's like, I'm 40, listen to me, because you think that, you're going to stroll out of school into a job that's going to pay you to have this New York lifestyle, but here's what reality looks like. So I watched this film on the plane on the way back from Vancouver last year, and it's really embarrassing to sob big snottery tears on a plane full of people. But I just loved this film so much, and Saoirse Ronan is incredible as she is in everything, in the lead part as Lady Bird. But just I felt seen. I felt like, teenage girl life is awkward for everyone, and it's really shit, and it's really hard to try and find your way in the world, especially when you're getting so many mixed messages from peers and social media or magazines or your parents or teachers, and it's just about kind of how you sort of find your own voice without sounding like that's really made me want to vomit. I'm sorry I just said that. But I just loved it. And yeah, there was a plane full of people watching me, really sob and try and pull my shit back together, because I just felt so touched by it. I loved it. And it's this kind of like, everything's this kind of nice, warm, sort of almost sepia tinged colour, like as if, when you look back on your youth, it's through sort of rose tinted glasses, as it were. But I just loved it. It was fantastic.
Have you seen it, John?
I have, yeah. I was just going to mention the scene where they're out dress shopping for a prom dress, and they're basically at each other's throats, and then suddenly, oh, what do you think of this dress? Yeah, that's not bad. And then they go back to fighting with each other, so they know when to fight and when to stop. It's such, and I've kind of seen that dynamic as well, obviously in my own household, and obviously I grew up with two sisters, so I could recognise it very well, and the dynamic with the dad as well. That was kind of, again, that's almost going back to sort of Jim Cummings stuff. He played very much a background role in her life, and I think he was out of work and things like that as well, wasn't he, at the time? Right. Yeah, and she was doing things like, when you take me to school, drop me a block away from the school and all this sort of stuff, and he obviously took it really badly,
My dad would wear his slippers when he was dropping me off anywhere, and I was like, if you dare get out the car.
Did his feet not slip in the pedals? Did he have special slippers with grips on them?
Oh God, don't tell my dad such a thing exists, because he's going to go out and buy them. No, but like classic old man tartan baffies. And ironically, I remember seeing it in a programme called 8 Simple Rules, which used to be on the Disney Channel, and the nickname for John Ritter's character was Slipper Dad, because he used to do that. And I was like, maybe it's just a dad thing. They just all love wearing their slippers while they're driving.
I was tempted to go with Bradley Cooper, A Star Is Born, just to annoy Mary. But
I'm not biting.
I think I am going to go with Neil Blomkamp and District 9.
Yes, what a choice.
Oh, good choice, yeah.
I think that's why one of the most visually impressive films of, I was going to say the last 10 years, but I might just be cutting it fine by saying 10 years.
I think you are, yeah.
I think it was 2009 it came out. Visually impressive film, incredible message to it. Not subtle in the slightest in its themes. For those that aren't aware of it, it's basically set in South Africa. It's post-apartheid. It's South Africans discriminating against the alien race that they find themselves coexisting with. And it's got similar themes and stuff to older films like Alien Nation, but it's just such a gut punch of a movie. It's absolutely fantastic. It looks amazing. Wasn't done for a big budget either, if I recall.
No, I think it was fairly modest. I think he's a bit of an effects wizard, isn't he? So he was able to do them quite economically. But yeah, it looked a lot more expensive than it actually cost to make. It's very, very impressive. Yeah.
It's got a breakout performance, by Sharlto Copley, and he's just incredible in it. The government official to discriminate. Imagine he's a Tory, but he's there to kind of like keep the aliens in line and stuff and make their life hell, but starts to become sympathetic to them when he begins to turn into one.
Spoilers.
If you've not seen the film, it's 10 years old.
Wait, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you the end. But unfortunately, it's kind of one of those films that you always thought was going to get a sequel. It never did, and I'm glad it didn't.
I don't think it needed a sequel. I think it was enough on its own. And if you didn't walk around for the next 3 weeks saying prawns in a South African accent, there was something wrong with you.
Exactly.
I'm not going to attempt it, although it is a household favourite.
What do you think of his career after that point, though?
I enjoyed Elysium. I thought the story was better than the film, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Chappie up until the end.
All right.
Which one's Elysium again? I think I have seen
Matt
it.
Damon.
No, I'm getting that mixed up with the Will Smith, Jaden Smith vehicle.
Oh, that's After Earth.
Another Earth. After Earth, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that was guff.
That's incredibly bad. No, I like I said, I really enjoyed Chappie. It's not that I didn't like the ending. It was just up until the ending, it was like a 5-star movie for me. I was absolutely blown away by it. And it's just something with the end didn't resonate. But
yeah, I thought Hugh Jackman was very good in it. And was it Dev Patel?
Yeah.
They
were both excellent in it, yeah.
When you think Hugh Jackman, you automatically think Wolverine, and you forget that he's done really cool stuff like The Prestige or Chappie and what's it called, Prisoners. I think you kind of forget the other ones.
There's something else he was in recently that I really enjoyed.
Greatest Showman.
That's also another film by a first-time director.
Is it?
Yeah, that's been a phenomenon in itself.
Yeah, again, a total sleeper hit that, nobody thought was going to do well at the box office, and I'm still getting emails inviting me to sing-alongs.
Are you going?
I mean, my singing voice is absolutely horrendous, but do I love belting it out? Absolutely.
It was pretty amazing because the film came out around about Christmas time.
It was Boxing Day. Yep.
Yeah, and it was still in cinemas in May when the DVD came out.
Yep.
Because they had like sing-along screenings and things like that, and it was around for such a long time, and it did really good business. So I was kind of half expecting The Greatest Showman 2 to pop its head up at some point. They would have found some way to do it, but
I do think they're threatening that.
Oh dear.
Everything okay? I'm fine. I've never been better in my life. See me wrestle an alligator, help the alligator.
We do have to super quickly mention who you would get in a celebrity fight.
Oh, that's right.
A la Justin Bieber, for some fucking weird reason, challenging Tom Cruise. Like, if you're going to pick any movie star, maybe not pick the guy who routinely kicks people's ass and runs for miles on screen. Like, pick somebody else. Pick somebody you think you could take on. But, so yeah, he's challenged Tom Cruise to a fight. So there is a Twitter phenomenon just now where you have to pick a celebrity who's 31 years older than you and challenge them to a fight.
Who would you pick?
Well, I have two that I'm torn between. One of whom is Viggo Mortensen. He is 60. And then Sean Busted Bean. I definitely don't think I stand my chances against any of them. Although Sean Bean is prone to an early death, so,
That's true. Yeah.
So you reckon if you stay long enough, he'll just die of natural causes or something?
Yeah, I just think the stamina would be there. Like, if I just keep getting back up, I might stand my chances against Sean Bean, yeah.
John, who's on your list?
Well, again, I had a couple. Because of my advanced age, I would have an advantage over anybody that actually I would face. So the first one I think I would stand a chance against is Judy Dench.
How dare you?
Well, she's short, and she's obviously, I mean, it's like fighting your granny, So, which I think might be all right. So I think I would stand a chance against her. A 50-50 thing, but the other one was Sophia Loren, who's 84 as well. Now, I think she would beat the crap out of me, and somehow I think I might enjoy it as well, which says more about me than anything else.
Yeah, one of those play fights that turns into something else. Very good, John. Very
well,
good.
Yeah. As long as it's filmed for posterity, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I was quite fortunate with my list. My list seemed to be kind of like agent action stars. Liam Neeson. I don't think I'm going to have much chance against.
He's got massive thumbs. He would gouge your eyes out.
Yeah, probably just encase my head in. But also, this one I actually do think I have a chance with, although you'll laugh, Steven Seagal.
Oh, no, I'm not laughing. You could
you could totally take him, yeah.
Steven Seagal. I think, especially now. Although I'd be worried about his Russian friends.
I hope if you were going to fight him, he'd have the pleat in. I feel like that would make the fight if he had the little
pleat in for long. I'll tell you that much. I'd rip out his head. Beat him with it.
I think you could probably distract him with a cheeseburger or something, and you would be right in there.
Well, that's just something else I was tempted to add on my list, but I was just too sad. If I win, Mr. T.
Oh no, you can't fight Mr. In the same way that John can't fight Judy Dench, you can't fight Mr. T. I don't know. I reckon Judy's got some game in her. I reckon she could take John. She would just climb him like a thing.
Again, I don't see a problem with that at all.
I just don't. I really don't want to fight Mr. T. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. If you can think a celebrity 31 years older than yourself that you could beat up, please let us know at Facebook or Moviescramble or on Twitter. where you can also follow us. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review if you're enjoying it. If you don't enjoy it, leave a review anyway, because we're a bit masochistic that way. Until next time, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Honey, I'm really not gonna be good at this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You want me to leave the light on in the hallway for you?
it's fine.
All right, I'm going to bed, honey. Good night, I love you.